in memory of our son John, who died in a motorcycle accident 16 years ago now. And the money that we raise, we buy motorcycles for pastors and health workers in Africa, mostly Kenya.
Hi, Habari Ndugu. This is Steve Taylor. We're here in Minnesota for the John Just Ride. As you all know, the purpose of this ride came from the idea of the Just family to raise funds so that they could purchase motorbikes for the good pastors and counselors and teachers who are in school at ATS.
Hi, my name is Mark Windschuttle. I happen to be the mayor of Chaska, but David and the Just family and I have been very, very, very close friends from the very beginning. I worked with Dave. I was on 2 fire departments with Dave. So I have a long history, but I just happen to be the mayor at the same time. So
why do you come out and ride this ride?
You know, this is just a lot of fun, and it's such a worthy cause. I mean, I am amazed every year about the amount of motorcycles that are purchased, but it's such a fun ride. It's an organized ride. It's just an overall good time.
Okay, my name is Bob Borner. I'm a close friend of the Just. Been with them for the last 20 years. So I've run this ride, led the ride for the Just for, I think, probably the last 14 years. So the important thing is the route is a safe route for everybody, and it's one that's interesting for everybody. So, you know, the ride is one thing, but getting through that safely is the most important part of it. So a lot of it goes into planning a nice ride and a safe route. So we do this run as a fundraiser to raise money to buy motorcycles for pastors in Africa.
When I talk to our friends in Africa, it's difficult to describe to them the bike riding culture here in America. There's an organization here known as the CMA, which is short for Christian Motorcycle Association, where the members get together to ride their motorcycles mainly for the purpose of talking about Christ and sharing their faith. For example, a few days before we participated in the John Just Memorial Ride, we went on a pre-ride with a group to just have fun and be together doing something we all enjoy, riding motorcycles. Dave and Cindy gave us an update on the ride along with other details that we needed to know.
At this point, without even a real turn, we are at $32,800 because we've been raised so far. So yeah. So anyway, so that's the good news, and it kind of makes all this other stuff, you know, it kind of puts it into perspective.
Saturday the 26th, there's a gear swap at the Simply Street Bike motorcycle. Yeah, the 26th. So, a lot of these events are on the Cycle Fish website. If you've ever been on that, it's a site that advertises all different kind of bike events. And even
these types of CMA rides take place all over the U.S. throughout the year. It's considered a social event, a time to have fun with each other. It's a way to raise money for different causes. We know it is a very different way of thinking to what our fellow African bike riders are used to. For many in America, their bike is more of a hobby than a means of transportation or a way to make money. Now here's Dave talking about the difference between a motorcycle in the U.S. and in Africa.
You know, we think of our bikes as something to go on a Thursday night and a Saturday and have a good time and go out and go to Pizza Ranch and have a good piece of chicken, you know. They can't comprehend that over there of a lot of us going on a motorcycle ride. I know Paul said he's tried to explain to his students what we're doing, and they just kind of look at him like, what are you talking about? You know, they just go for a ride, you know. Yeah, well, that's what we do, but for them it's life-changing, so. Yeah.
The story of our ride started on September 29th, 2004, when we lost our middle son at the age of 23. in a motorcycle accident while he was on his way from his job to meet his wife, new bride of 9 months, Melissa, so they could lead youth group together. John had a passion for Jesus and for motorcycles, and he was kind of crazy and loved life and super energetic and a little outrageous, and that made him super positive, loved by his youth group, and it made him, it attracted people to his faith because he was so real and so genuine about it. And people realized when they saw John that I don't have to be dull and boring to be a Christian. To be a Christian can be just an extension of my natural God-given personality, however God made us. So right from the beginning, even in the middle of our deep, dark grief, our families had 3 prayers, and one was that even in the midst of our grief, we would continue to be able to see God working, that our eyes would be open to see how God was comforting us and blessing us even in the midst of our grief. Number 2 was that God would somehow use John's life to still impact others for eternity. And we had no idea how that was going to happen. And then number 3 was, God, if in your graciousness, if we could see that, the evidence of that, we would be so very grateful. And so as we approached the year anniversary of his death, his friends came to us and said, what are we going to do to remember John? And we looked at each other and we're like, we have no idea. We've never done this before. And they said, well, how about we have a motorcycle ride? And we're like, okay, that sounds like something John would love. But what are we going to ride for? We can't just ride and cry. Typically in the U.S., rides have a purpose, like a fundraising purpose or something. And so even though we didn't have a purpose in mind, we just started planning anyway. And it's kind of amazing because typically I'm one that has to have all my ducks in a row up front, and I'm not a person who likes to kind of wait and let God lead me to what the purpose is. But that time I just did. And we were at church about a month before the ride took place, and a friend of ours had just been to Africa, to Ghana, had just come back, seen how pastors use motorcycles there. And I walked out of church and I said to David, that's it, that's the purpose for the ride. We're going to try and buy a pastor in Africa a new motorcycle. And so we had the first ride then, the end of September 2005. We raised about $7,000 that first ride. I think we had maybe 70 motorcycles show up to be part of the ride. I mean, we were flying by the seat of our pants. We had no idea what to expect. And we raised about $7,000, which was enough for 3 motorcycles for pastors in Nigeria. And and so at that ride, someone came up to David and said,
he said that there's an old Jewish proverb that says you die twice in life. The first time you die is when your heart quits beating and your lungs take their last breath. And the second time is when your name is said for the last time on the face of the earth. And he was a short gentleman, and he stuck his finger in my face and he said, your job as John's dad is not to let him die the second time. And I just got to say John's name again. Mm-hmm.
So we just feel so blessed and humbled that God is allowing us to be part of this bigger picture. I mean, he blew this up more than we could have ever anticipated. I mean, if someone would have told us that first year that we've had years that we've given 40 motorcycles, we would be like, what? I mean, we never thought that it would end up being like this. And we're just also so blessed at how God has taken our tragedy and redeemed it and used it to bless others. And we're so grateful for that. We didn't have a choice that this happened to our family, but as a family, we have a choice of how we've responded to it and what we've done with it. So.